everyone. This is Amber Twitty with the Community and Economic Development Team, also known as Team CED here at Central State University Extension. And this is the May 12th, 2022 edition of our CED Office Hour Live, where we talk about this, that, and the other thing, and all things that are connected to CED. And I like to always start off with just talking about what CED is, right? You hear that term a lot, and it's like diversity. It touches on everything, right? So you'll hear some people say that they're in CED, but they're working in infrastructure, or they're working in affordable housing, or they're working with building highways, right? And then there's other people working in community economic development, and they work with people. It's the social service side, like youth employment, working with veterans, working with ex-offenders, and then the connector in between. And those are the businesses and the organizations, right? And as a CED professional, we look at that entire system because that's how we live, work, and play and thrive. And we look at how we navigate all of those spaces. And then we say, well, based on that and based on what the community has indicated they want to do or need to do, let's come up with initiatives, programs, share information to make those parts of the systems that we touch better, right? A positive impact that's sustainable and measurable. And we like to work ourselves out of jobs. So once we are sharing with the community and engaging them and helping them to be that self-empowerment piece, now we kind of back off, right? And because now we have trained those new trainers, those community folks become the next generation of trainers to make sure that their community continues to thrive. So that's what we do. And so today, we are still in the month of May, we are focusing on small businesses, especially minority and small businesses throughout the state of Ohio, and providing information. In the last week, we talked with Melanie Bryant, who was with the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Comp. And this week, we have Mr. Terry Bolden. It's always a pleasure whenever I get a chance to interact and work with him. He is currently at the U.S. Small Business Administration Office. He is the Deputy Director at the SBA office in Columbus District Office. And prior to that, he brings a wealth of information. He started out in the utilities industry, segue over into the Chamber of Commerce, then left there and went to the Ohio Department of Transportation, known as ODOT. And in those spaces, and also with the City of Columbus and the diversity and inclusion. And in those spaces, the common denominator was always business development, business engagement, outreach, sharing information, and educating people on how to navigate the processes in those respective industries. And now he's doing the same thing, but on a whole new level at SBA. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I could talk about you all day, but I'm going to let you talk and kind of just give an overview of how you got there. I know I gave the general roadmap, but just about your values, what's important to you, and some of the neat things that you've gotten to do in this role. And also then we'll go into some of the programming initiatives of SBA. And just want to say before you get started, Rhonda and Melody, thank you for joining us. Those are some small business owners in Ohio as well. Terry, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Amber. Ambrose, definitely always a pleasure to work with you. And I would much say first, we've known each other for a long time, and I know with your commitment and passion to help small businesses, it excites me every time that we have an opportunity to engage and to even talk offline sometime about strategies and planning and how to get the job done for impact. As both Ambrose has worked with him before as well. We had a great event earlier this year, actually, where Congresswoman Beatty was a part of that. gave some great introduction and talking points around agriculture and small business development. So thank you so much again for your partnership. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention we do have what they call a strategic alliance memorandum with Central State University. So that gives us even a deeper dive in how we can work together and do programming and planning for small businesses, in particular minority and Black-owned businesses that are in our region. So as Amber mentioned, I serve as the Deputy District Director for the Columbus District Office, but we like to call ourselves the Central and Southern Ohio District Office. Reason being, we service and we assist businesses in 60 of Ohio's 88 counties. So if you think about the breakdown of Ohio, it would look almost like everything south of the Turnpike is pretty much under our purview of assisting, contracting, and counseling for small businesses. We are blessed in the state of Ohio to have 2 district offices. I know your program that you're doing currently at Central State for agriculture and what is it, from farm to table, and where you are in the cycle in your business is statewide. And we do have an office in Cleveland, and they service all of Northeast Ohio businesses. So we do work in tandem when we talk about statewide outreach and business development. One of the great things that we have here in the Columbus District Office, and I again would be remiss to mention, we have a team of 12 individuals, both from our lending, our economic development counseling, and our contracting. So government contracting is going to be huge going forward in what we call in this administration the equity agenda, and how do we get small businesses to the table for contracting opportunities. So we have lending, counseling, and contracting, and we have, again, a team of 12 individuals that work specifically with helping our businesses across Central and Southern Ohio. And we all work under the direction of Everett Waddell, who is the district director for this region. That being said, I love numbers and I love talking about our success, basically where we have been so we can understand where we are going. In particular, the state of Ohio has, in FY21, has done over $4.1 billion in contracting. That's for the state of Ohio. To specifically talk about the impact for the Central and Southern District, we've done $3.2 billion of those contracting dollars. And most of that has come through our Wright-Patt and Defense Logistics Agency contracting opportunities. And I think that's huge for many of our small businesses that are either 8A certified, they're women business owned or veteran business owned businesses that work directly through the SBA. As far as lending is concerned, outside of EIDL and PPP, we did about $2.3 billion in lending directly to small businesses. And I think that's huge for a lot of our companies who are thinking about
Excuse me, real quick. And in government, we use a lot of acronyms. And I know what EIDL is, but can you say what the full name is so that the audience will know?
Absolutely. So for many businesses who have been affected by the pandemic, as you know, in 2020, a declaration of economic disaster was signed by the president and Congress. And to get those resources out to small businesses, there were 3 primary programs. That was the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That's EIDL. We call it EIDL for short. But many of our businesses across the state of Ohio and the country were able to rebound with some of those resources. So in particular, and we could talk a little bit about this, in light of where EIDL is, the program has officially ended because funds have all been exhausted. So currently there are no longer any funds in the program for direct lending to businesses. The difference between EIDL and PPP was EIDL was a direct loan from the they were through the lend.
He froze a little
As
bit.
long as the funding went directly to payroll and so forth. So when we talk about overall numbers, the state of Ohio, in particular, specifically in our district, we did over about close to 15 to 20 billion dollars in economic recovery funds for small businesses, and we know that's a huge dollar amount. But as you know, many businesses they found it one of those things that helped them recover and rebound from the pandemic. And I will say overall, and it because it ended the last day that funds ran out was May the 5th of so which was last week. The portal is still open for many.
Okay, he got disconnected. So we'll wait a couple minutes while he logs back in.
Okay.
Are there any questions so far that anyone has?
Hey, this is James. Thank you for
Hi, Jim.
having me. Hey, oh, there he is. So I'll wait for the question. Then never
Okay.
mind.
Absolutely. I lost connection. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I lost connection and then I'm back on just
I just
automatically. So
started
I
talking. I
appreciate
was like,
that.
why he's getting reconnected? Yeah, I just kept
Yes.
on. You know how we
Thank you
do.
so
Go ahead.
much. We work on the fly. We work on the
Yeah.
fly. But I just wanted to end with this to say that the EIDL program has officially ended due to exhaustion of funds. The portal is still open for many businesses to finally get their final documents in by Monday, May the 16th. And we will continue processing those that were in that approval or obligating phase. We also, and we'll talk a little bit further about what are some of the other programs that are kind of filling in the gaps now that EIDL has ended, but also some other partner organizations that we work with to help get resources out to small businesses. But because I know this is going to be an open discussion and robust, if we will, James had a question, and I think if he's still on, I'm here,
Yeah, he's
James.
still on.
Yep, I am. So the last thing you were saying is that, like, the portal is still open. So you said the funds ran out, but the portal is still open. So what does that necessarily mean at that point?
Yes. Yeah, and so as we know, there for us in approving loans, there were certain levels and steps and documents that were needed along the way in prior to approving the loan. So there were some loans that were waiting for documents to be signed, or we were waiting to communicate further on what additional information we needed to get their loan funded, if you will. So the portal is open specifically for businesses that were right in between that that level of being obligated and actually being funded. But if a business who has been denied or they were declined an EIDL loan and they're seeking to be reconsidered, those applications are no longer moving forward, but only the ones that in which we need documentation to sign or close the loan documents for that loan.
Through this operation, do you find many, call it small businesses, fail to complete the necessary paperwork, therefore they don't get the funding because they missed the deadline? Are you seeing that a lot?
Well, I would say from an agency perspective, I know that we have communicated and over communicated on, certain deadlines, funding is running out, make sure you apply for your increase. And there's been a little bit of a very varied of information that we needed from small businesses. But one of the largest, I guess, hiccups that were along the way is whether a business had their transcripts already reviewed and approved by the IRS. So the 4506T form, which allows the SBA to pull your transcripts from the IRS, you've probably heard that numerous times. I got to fill out another 4506T. We found in some of those cases, those forms were incorrectly filled out. Maybe a checkbox was not checked, or something wasn't signed a particular way. And when we sent it over to the IRS, they rejected that form. So that added an additional step or time to actually pull their transcripts. And then once we received the transcripts, we found that certain businesses that either filed extensions or maybe filled out the, something incorrectly came back to us not showing any revenue or income. So there was a little bit of a mix of both along the way, but primarily there was a IRS transcript issue that caused most of the delays in pulling and approving certain loans.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yeah.
And thank you for joining us, Lynette Stevens. One of your old colleagues just joined us today.
Good afternoon, Lynette. So, and talking specifically around what we do at the SBA, we do counseling, contracting, capital, and crisis. And one of the big things we talk about crisis, as you know, in the Dayton area, when there were floods and tornadoes, what we did here at the SBA, we have a disaster loan. And that disaster loan provided resources for small businesses and some of our large corporations and individuals who were looking to borrow money to help get them back on their feet. And that's one of the big things that I would like to say what we've done with the SBA. We do provide resources outside of EIDL, that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and PPP. Aside of that, when we talk about certain programs that are now being sunsetted, as you know, the SBA has been around since 1953. So we've been working on helping businesses start, grow, expand, and recover along the way. And there are actually 4 particular programs that we work specifically around on the lending side, and that's the SBA 7A loan. And one thing about the 7A loan, and it's been around a while, it is a lender-based loan that is backed by the SBA. And you can use those funds for working capital or fixed assets. So you talk about businesses looking to ramp up or use funds to expand. The 7A loan is specifically for businesses seeking to do so. Also, we have what they call 504 loans. And this is a very flexible loan in terms of using it for real estate and fixed assets. You actually can borrow up to $5 million for land, property, fixed assets, as I've mentioned, and it works through our CDCs or our community development corporations. And then also we have our microloan program that we do. We work specifically with programs that are done through ECDI, which is the Economic Community Development Institute. They're a microloan, and they're also a community advantage lender. And one of the great things about Community Advantage, and right now we're currently enhancing the program, is that a small business can borrow up to $350,000 with less stringent credit requirements. And then also there's a little bit of flexibility in there on collateral up to $50,000. But ECDI is also one of our community advantage lenders, and we do encourage businesses that are looking for gap financing to work with our local partner there as well.
And another good thing about ECDI quickly is they are located they have several locations throughout the state. I believe one is in Akron. I know they're here in Cincinnati, as well as the Columbus area, and that's one other community I can't remember. but they do have several locations. They work like all of us in regions. So even if they don't physically have an office, they will come and support you. And they also have, I know there's a couple women-owned businesses online. They also have special programming for women-owned businesses as well. So I can feel free to reach out to me afterwards, and I can connect you to the right people for that space.
There is a comment in the chat, Terry. I want to read it, and maybe you could sort of respond to it. Maybe there's some other resources within the SBA's ecosystem. As a small business owner, I can say I have not applied for certain funding due to not understanding some of the required forms, as well as not having a contact to assist with completing the application correctly. So that's the comment that was put into the chat by one of the attendees. Is there anything?
And she's a small business owner. Yes, he has a staffing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're really here to help actually businesses kind of understand and get through that process. I want to see if you could put my email address in the chat, because I want to work directly with you with the small business specific, and it's terry.bolden at sba.gov. And I think it's going to be very important to understand where that small business is in their life cycle, or what stage of their business cycle they are, to understand what product or service or program would be the best fitted for them. But I will say that we do have a resource partner network that does a phenomenal job across the state of Ohio in assisting businesses as well. In particular, those are the Small Business Development Centers, the SBDCs. We have one here in the Columbus area. We have several, of course, but Columbus State University, which is here at the community college, has a very robust center. They meet with you one-on-one and help you understand and also walk through some certain application processes. We also have the Women's Business Center, and there are several across the state of Ohio, and actually 4. We have actually one, actually a new one, but there's 4 in the state of Ohio, and we have 3 here in our region in central and southern Ohio. And then also SCORE, and that's the Society of Retired Executives. They do mentorship advice. And they volunteer, basically, kind of give you a real world experience and advice through executives. But I would love to at least speak specifically and directly to that small business who's looking for capital and understanding what those forms are, and I will get them to the right location.
Okay. I put your contact information in. I know that by heart, so I already typed it in.
All right. Thank you. We're talking about, I do want to add this, Ambrose, before, when we talk about some of our resource partner network, the Small Business Development Center in Springfield was one of 50 grantees who was awarded the Community Navigator Pilot Program. And it is a pilot program specifically focused on the equity agenda and meeting businesses where they are in the community. The SBDC in Springfield is basically what they call a hub among several spokes, and several of those spokes would include veteran service disabled business assistants. We talk about recidivism, restored citizens getting back into society and starting businesses. And there's also, we talk about some of those individuals who retire and thinking about becoming those, what they call them, entrepreneurs, those who want to start businesses. The Springfield SBDC is going to play a pivotal role in our region in helping, getting resources out to businesses along the way, and a very good partner of ours as well.
Now, with the navigators in Springfield, are they solely just working in the greater Springfield area, or will they be working outside of that area as well?
Currently, they're specifically working in that region or that area. I think I think Central State would kind of fall into that region and area.
Yes.
I can get you the contact information. There is a point person, a director there who's going to be specifically working with the Navigator program there at the SBDC. But I'll make sure that I'll get you that information as well to pass on to individuals.
Yeah, our team is working with we'll be working with Melrose Acres, and they're going to be doing some business incubator and outreach. And I know that Mr. Kareem Ayers had mentioned the navigators, so he is speaking highly of them, that they are getting out in the community, helping getting the word out, and are connecting with people. So look forward to that connection so we can see how we can work together.
Absolutely.
I did have a question, comment, Terry.
Yes.
In terms of participating in the opportunity for small businesses to participate in contracts and various development projects, I'm sure the SBA plays some role in that as well, or has some participation. And so in particular, the Intel project that is coming to Central Ohio, is the SBA involved yet in that, or is there any opportunity, anything that the community can know about in terms of getting involved or getting prepared?
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, we had a wonderful opportunity most recently to meet with the Ohio Chamber of Commerce and bringing together several diverse chambers of commerce here in our region. So that would include the Somali Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of both Dayton, Columbus, and Cincinnati, as well as the Asian American Chamber of Commerce and the African American Chamber of Commerce, led there by Eric Kearney there in Cincinnati, who came in and we talked specifically about diversity initiatives and specifically with Intel. Most recently, Intel has created a supplier diversity portal specifically for businesses to go in and register who they are, what their services are, and particularly talk around how they can engage with what's coming up here in the next 2 to 3 years. But the SBA has, in terms of playing a direct role, we've been working with the diverse chambers in our region, who we all have SAM agreements with as well, to speak specifically around our commitment and our engagement to diversity and supplier increased supplier diversity initiatives. But their portal was just created, and I can also provide that information as well to send out to all the attendees. But what we're really excited about is there's a plan for what they call a cottage industry, and as you know, it's just not about making chips, but it's everything around that, right? It's the material that's used, the skilled labor that's needed, and in that cottage industry, we're talking about kind of scaling or the building businesses around what's needed and utilizing the service, utilizing the facilities. Once Intel builds these facilities, they have these very highly technical location facilities. Businesses then can utilize them for their production of sorts. So we've been engaged, but at a distance. But we've been very engaged with our diverse chambers, who we're really trying to help get through or navigate through the supplier side of things.
Okay, so related to that, how do you have any suggestions or thoughts of how business owners and those who are activists within the community supporting those businesses can sort of be more involved or be more in the know, be in the room or get more information about this? I mean, obviously you've shared about the supplier diversity portal that Intel has set up, but obviously there's a lot of other work that has to go into building towards that, and folks just need to be in the know as much as they can.
Absolutely.
Any suggestions there?
Absolutely. And as you know, I mean, this is going to change the landscape of Ohio. Well, we're going to be the Silicon Valley of the Midwest. And we know for sure it's even changed what real estate and transportation is going to look like here in Central Ohio. Again, our engagement has been specifically with the diverse chambers because not only of their list of businesses that engage with them, but there's their very specific equity agenda around working with businesses that are from different ethnicities or underserved populations. So I would say continue to work through some of the chambers that that have been engaged with our conversations. I would say again, starting at that supplier diversity portal is going to be very important because everyone has to know who you are at least, and there's going to be a huge influx of new businesses locating to Ohio. So, it's a very exciting but also kind of a question on where do I fit in. But I would say initially start there with the portal, and then work through some of the diverse chambers that are in your community.
Okay, that sounds excellent. Excellent. Now, when you make mention of the companies that will be relocating or getting a presence here, establishing a presence here, on one hand that sounds good. On the other hand, it sort of brings up a question: would they be displacing or taking opportunities that some Ohio-based businesses or entrepreneurs could grow into fulfilling, with the opportunities? Is that being discussed at all? To give a maybe a preference to Ohio-based or origin, or companies that originate here?
Yeah, I think as we all know, the landscape for business opportunities is now kind of horizontal, and there are no boundaries to that. And of course, if the CHIP Act is signed and it's approved there in Congress, they're talking about about 20,000 new individuals working at the facility, if you will. So I think the opportunity is so large and vast that there are some businesses here, can they scale up to, or can they kind of work their way into the being a supplier for Intel? Absolutely. But at the same time, I think that there's just so many vast avenues for businesses to even partner with some businesses that are moving to Ohio. So I think that the opportunities are unlimited, and I don't think that there's going to box out or isolate any of our companies that are currently here. I think it's actually an opportunity to grow and expand for those who are relocating in North or Central Ohio.
All right, thank you.
So is there so with that, I just want to I have a question going back to the loans that you mentioned.
Yes.
What is your your take or thoughts on businesses that provide professional services? Because a lot of lending, you have to have a lot of fixed assets, right?
Yeah.
Business lending, and with professional services, you might need technology, but you don't need as much fixed assets. So, what are some of the challenges, or are there any things that SBA has looked at to kind of mitigate some of those identified challenges?
Well, again, we've worked again with many of our local community advantage lenders to meet businesses where their needs are. And as I've worked, my opportunity with transportation, we work highly with a lot of professional service companies that do design and bridge engineering. And again, a lot of, again, a lot of that is kind of, hey, we need to borrow money, but we only need it for technology. Many of again, our community advantage lenders will be a good place to start. But a lot of that, again, will be on their own personal credit and their personal, risk measures, if you will.
Mhm.
Our 7A program, again, as also mentioned, you can get up to $5 million. Those are bank loans. Those are usually the sweet spot for a lot of our professional engineering and design firms, because they are bank lent, but they're backed by the SBA. So we mitigate the risk in that. So those
Okay.
are often easier for some of our professional service businesses.
And
And
probably also, I would also think your community um, advantage partners such as ECDI. I know they have like a short term kind of bridge loan that might be a little
correct.
example of something that might be more flexible. Some of that I knew. I just wanted the audience to know that those are
Absolutely.
opportunities because it is a challenge when you just do professional services and you're not selling widgets or and books and things like that. You don't have a hard thing that you're selling. So,
Or leveraging your loan
so
against, actually.
okay.
Sometimes, yeah, you can have an idea. I want to leverage my idea for an opportunity of growth, and that working capital and looking at, taking your idea to
Yes.
market. Um, those are sometimes more difficult loans, but if you have a
Yeah.
business plan, which is going to be very important to do before you even take it to a lender,
Yes.
having a business plan and an idea and a strategy and something even to leverage against. Oftentimes, you know, banks will want to know that, are you willing to, borrow against your house, or what's your collateral, on your personal side of things. So, many of our, again, many of our small businesses there, we have to kind of meet them where they are.
Yes.
And that's why the community advantage program is going to be probably the most
'Cause that does
attractive.
take a little bit more hand holding and time. Um,
Yes.
Also, just want to point out on your federal website, if you go on to SBA.gov, there are also some templates where if you have to put together a business plan, you can start from there and you can progress as you need. Like you can save your work as you go, so you don't have to do it all in one session. But I found that that is a good tool for small businesses who are starting out or trying to put together a business plan. And if you do that step first, it then go to, a ECDI or, WeBank, which is the Women Business Enterprise Centers and things like that, and or SCORE and all that, then you can get a lot more services that are meaningful because your time is valuable, their time is valuable. So you want to get as much prepared as you can as you navigate. So I just wanted to point that out as a little tidbit.
Thank you, Amber. And I was saying thank you so much for that. Again, the small business development centers, we assist in funding those. I know that they also receive funds from the state of Ohio, but we're a strategic partner with them on the national level,
Mhm.
and they're very great resources
Yes.
through the SBDCs, and you do have several there in Southwest
Yes.
Ohio.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. And we have the Hamilton County SBDC, and then there's some business development centers to do the urban leagues. So a lot of the urban leagues host some of those. African American Chamber of Commerce has a minority business assistance centers, and a lot of them do the same basic type of services. They differ a little bit. Their focus is a little bit different, but you can utilize all of those services, and because they're funded so heavily by the government, most of them are free or it's a very cheap compared to what you're getting
Yes.
back. Your return, so you do have a return on it on your investment. Um, to participate
Yes.
in those programs. We do have a comment from Melody Smith. My challenge with the microloans, I believe that they are called, was I did not require any transportation or a brick and mortar. I was more interested in working capital, but I did not qualify because I'm no longer certified. I submitted everything requested and was denied with a reason being missing information. It was very frustrating and time consuming. If you have a contact, please share. So, Melody, I would kind of I kind of know what you're gonna say on this one, Terry. I put Terry's information in there. Give him a call directly, and then he can, based on your conversation, tell you or point you in the right direction exactly who you can talk to within that system. And then you can also email me because a lot of that general information I do know as well from my life before Central State.
Yes.
I can help you navigate locally down here in Cincinnati because she's based here in Cincinnati. But she has a staffing agency, so she's a
Okay. One.
service
Yeah.
small business, and she's doing very well. But she's still in that beginning stage. So
Yeah, and as I mentioned again before, the 7A loans, again, they're backed by the SBA, but they're done through the lender. Those are used for working capital. Those are working capital loans. And you can borrow anywhere between $500 and 5 million. And I mean, I wouldn't go to a bank and say I need $500, of course, if you're looking to grow your business. But the 7A loans are specifically for working capital and kind of scaling up your business, if you will. So if Melanie, if you reach directly out to me, I'll make sure that I'll get you over to our lender relations specialist, and then we'll assist you the best way we can for growth and success.
but one of the common things I see about in the comments is that navigation piece, right?
Yes,
More so than the loan itself is how do I navigate those different processes? Because you don't want to get in and then you say one thing wrong and then you get knocked out of the process. Even with
absolutely.
EIDL, if you answer one question and it wasn't in that standard language, then that could cause a lot of delay. So,
Yeah.
but that's what we're here
I
for, to help navigate.
I definitely, again, I do want to reiterate, again, as many of our disaster loan programs are now sunsetting, again, PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program loan, those were forgivable as long as 60% of the loan was used towards payroll. And those were done directly through the lender. EIDL, or Economic Injury Disaster Loan, those are direct loans from the federal government to the small business with a very long-term payment at low interest rate at 3.75. Those loans were deferred for 30 months. So your first payment should be coming up sometime soon. Those loans are not forgivable. They are federal loans, and they will, payments will begin 30 days from the date of your origination of your loan. Many businesses are starting to pay those loans, are starting to look at paying those back now. I can also provide you a little information on where they can go to see what their balance is and how to schedule upcoming payments as well. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knew, again, there were two different kinds of loans. Even though they're sunsetting, the EIDL loan is not a forgivable loan.
Yes. And one of the comments was that they business received 2 PPP loans and was blessed to have them both forgiven, and that really helped them maintain their business throughout COVID. Rhonda Fannin from Highland County, she said, great topics. She needs to jump off for an appointment, but thank you, thank you. She really enjoyed everything, and thank you, Rhonda, for joining us as well.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I did have a question, Terry, about my fax machine ringing over there. In terms of you mentioned a lot about lending products or resources in terms of access to capital. Are there any non-lending resources for access to capital that the SBA is involved with? I know that back in 2012 when President Obama signed the legislation for the Jobs Act of 2012,
Yeah.
which changed the that allowed regulation crowdfunding. So basically, now more and more people could be investors into companies. Are there any other non-lending access to capital resources that you guys are involved with?
Well, and thanks. I appreciate that question. As far as non-lending, and that kind of takes you right into the grant program of sorts. Currently, there aren't any grants directly from the federal government directly to a small business as it was with the Target Advance or the supplemental during the pandemic of sorts. But there are innovation grants, and that's what we call the SBIR. You can get up to 1.5 million for technology innovation and STTR grants. And I can also provide some information on that as well.
Okay.
But those come around annually. Of course, there's an application for that, and it is competitive, but you can get up to 1.5 million for innovation grants. But there also, so we talk about non-bank debt financing, the SBIC network. There is actually a few investment, and this is what you referred to earlier with the President Obama signing. There is an investment network that's kind of like a crowdfunding or I can't think of the word right now, but an alternative lending option that the SBA is also involved in, and that's going to be your SBIC network. You can go right onto our website as well and look under SBIC, but it is a non-bank lending product. But currently, outside of that, in terms of grants, there are no currently any grants that are available directly for small businesses.
Yeah, one of the things that I tell businesses is that if you come across a grant, okay, but don't depend on that because there really aren't in abundance for for-profit businesses. Just because of the pandemic is kind of like a special circumstance, but that's not the norm. And as you said, those aspects of like the EIDL being forgiven for that first $10,000 is an example, or the PPP loans being forgiven are examples of those special circumstances. That's not the norm. We're getting back
Yeah.
to, as far as the lending space, getting back to the norm. And you got to work on your credit. You got to work on your total package, your business plan, and a lot of those different agencies that you mentioned that you partner with can assist with that one-on-one to navigate that, in addition to the SBA and in addition to the CED team here at Central State University Extension.
Yeah, and to your point, grants really are meant to kind of help bridge a little bit of the gap. But if you want to build capacity and scale, it's better to have that relationship with a lender along the way. And I'm sure many of our small businesses and those who are on the call, they know that. One thing that we found during the pandemic, when a lot of the idle loans were declined, a lot of businesses didn't understand what their cost of goods were. And we measured, we gave you the eligibility criteria based on, what your loss was
Right.
prior and during. Yep. So financial literacy is going to be huge, and it's probably a great opportunity for the SBA to continue to engage with both of our HBCUs here in Ohio through your agriculture program and getting businesses financially fit prior to going to a lender to seek capital. But I will tell you too, one thing about the pandemic that brought some great opportunity for small businesses, more community banks are now SBA lenders. Prior to the pandemic, there were about 1,500 lenders. Now there's over 5,400 lenders nationwide. And many of our credit unions and community banks have stepped into and stepped up to the plate, and they're some of our biggest partners across the country. So you don't always have to go directly to the big banks to say
Right.
I need some additional capital to grow my business. Start looking at some of your community lenders in your community. We
Yeah, and
also
even
have,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention also, we do have what they call a lender match. So when you go onto our website, and it's actually now being enhanced, you can go in and type in some criteria and what you're looking for, and then we will provide in a list of lenders that would help meet your capital needs that are approved through the SBA. So if you go into SBA lender match and go to our website, and that's .gov, because there are tons of
Yes.
solicit, yes,
Repeat that one
yes,
more time. SBA.gov.
.gov, SBA.gov, not .org or .com or .net. It's .gov, because there is tons of information out there that will definitely mislead some of our businesses to think that it's from the federal government, but then they take you down a road of fees and joining memberships that we do not do here at the federal government. But lendermatch.gov is going to give you an insight on who those lenders are that you can work with in growing your business.
Yeah, and I want to make a comment about the EIDL loans when you're talking about the banking relationships. So those, what I found in working with small businesses, that those who had those banking relationships, those bankers called those companies, actually worked with them to get their applications completed, right? And when the portal opened, all they had to do was hit send. Those were the ones who got funded. And it's easy to have a banking relationship. Each branch manager has or a branch has a banking personal banker or branch manager, and
Book,
you just go
book
and
of
meet with
business.
them and chat and tell them, hey, I want to meet to introduce myself about my business. And that's how you start with the conversation. And then they'll start saying, well, here are some banking products that might be better for you outside of our standard suite of checking accounts, and this is how you can save money. And that's how you build that relationship, because people say go network, go build, but they don't give you any tools on, well, what do I say once I get there, right? Do I just give them my business
Yeah.
card? So that's where you can start that conversation. And Eric
And
Smith,
that's where
go ahead.
and that's where our SCORE counselors come into play.
Yeah.
They're retired executives that give you kind of like the ABCs on what to do and what to say when you're taking your bank deal or your inquiries to the bank. So we definitely want you to engage with our SCORE counselors as well. I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a comment, well, a question from Eric Smith on our team, and he says, "Can you say more about the relationship between SBA and Central State University, and how a group like CSU community, basically our team, the CSU CED extension, could play a role in small and minority business growth? In other words, are there gaps that you see in the existing ecosystem or resources and services that we could try and fill? Knowing we are a small but mighty team. That's why we say we're Team CED. Everybody else in the
Well,
extension gets tired of saying that, but we don't care.
one thing, again, from a training standpoint, we definitely want to work more closely with your incubator system, your program that you have there. We know that from an agriculture standpoint, there are many businesses trying to figure out, how do I get my from farm to table
Yes.
a business cycle? How do I make that more successful? So I think, as far as from a training perspective and continuing to provide not only webinars but in-person meetings uh, as we're starting to get back into, I think we continue to do that. And actually, we created something annual that just happened last year, right, Amber?
Yes.
So we're going to do that again this year.
Yes. 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 And that is the Ohio Small Business and Agribusiness um,
Summit.
Informational Summit, where we brought
Yeah.
in all the different resources to connect. And our hopes is once it gets planned that we will have an in-person component this year, because the numbers that went up in COVID, we had to cancel out that part of it. But we're looking forward to working with you guys again on that as well.
And we will re-sign our SAM agreement. Again, we're really excited about that. And we're blessed to have two HBCUs here in the state of Ohio, and our continued engagement with Central State. It's just a true partner for the SBA here in Central Ohio. True
And I
partner.
like to kind of highlight a couple things for just kind of things that my takeaways. Um, there are the 4 C's of SBA, and that's counseling, government contracting, capital, and crisis, right? The crisis is like the PPP lending, the EIDLs, but you also have microloans, 504 loans. You work with the community partners such as EIDC, the Small
Mhm.
Business Development Centers, the Chambers of Commerce. Um, so you work with the providers as well as with the individual businesses. So I like that. And we will continue to work together. I look forward to us working together on a summit, planning a summit this year, as well as when we do get to meet about how we can jointly continue doing some additional programming out in the community. So just want to say thank you. And do you have any, we're coming up on our time, and just want to say thank
Yeah,
you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure. Do you have
yeah.
any takeaway comments or concerns or anything like that that you would like to let the audience know about?
Well, I want to say thank you to the many small businesses that have been resilient through this. I know it is not easy. It's not a simple task to get up every day, run your small business, try to figure out where the capital is, make sure payroll is done. I just take my hat off to the sacrifice and the commitment, but also the hard work. We continue to support you here, both as collectively as an agency, but individually. I look to support small businesses everywhere I go. If I can go to a small business versus a big box in some cases, I look to support our small businesses. And in lieu of that, last week was Small Business Week. We had an opportunity to sign proclamations with the city of Dayton, Columbus, and Cincinnati in celebration of that. But we are here as an agency to help your business rebound, recover, and grow. And I know there's going to be some bumps along the way, but we're here to kind of help smooth them out and get you to success and growth. So I want to thank you very much, Amber and Ambrose, for allowing me this time to present and at least talk specifically about small business development and growth. And thank you, Central State University, for your partnership and support here for our agency.
Ambrose or Eric, do you have any other comments that you'd like to make as we close out?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to Terry for sharing with us, giving us a lot of information, and to weathering my questions. I know I was sort of putting him on the spot a little bit, but I look forward to. I think that this discussion sort of sets the stage for some other things that we probably need to come back together around, and maybe bring in some other community stakeholders and have some discussions on some of these other topics to get more of that engagement from the businesses, but also the community in general in terms of supporting those businesses. But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just second that and just say a huge thank you. And I think it's just awesome that we got some very concrete solutions came out of today. So
Yes.
how awesome is that? So just thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and insight.
And then we have a
Thank
couple comments from the audience. Melody Smith says, great discussion, so refreshing. Thank you so much, Amber, for the invite. Thank you, everyone, for the information. And she will be following up with you, Terry. Believe me,
you.
she always follows through. So, and
Yeah.
Tamika Troutman, another business owner, she said, thank you for your time. I look forward to receiving mentor support to grow my business. So she will be following up with you as well. So Like I
Absolutely.
said, we put all of the contact information in. If you have any questions that you think of afterwards, feel free to email me and I'll make sure you get connected if I can't answer the question directly myself. And just thank you for joining us, everyone. And this concludes the May 12th, 2002 edition of CED Office Hour Live, where we talked about the SBA, a GPS for business growth. Thank you and have a good day.